So as the wife of the mayor, they would often hold meetings in the house with the conspirators under the guise of like a book club kind of thing. So we're going to take a walk up through the Cinco de Mayo street here, which we just briefly were at there before the rain started, where the statue was. So let's take a walk past that. This is one of the most popular streets in the city. It's a purely pedestrian street with lots of shops, and it's a really nice walk through the area. So let's go and have a look. This rather large church here in front of me while I'm waiting for the traffic is the Church of San Francisco. And you can see it takes up a full city block in both directions. Lots of street vendors down through here too, which is kind of cool. Apparently, Mario coin. So here we are in the Plaza de Armas, here in the center of Querétaro. I see another sign for it as well, saying it's the Plaza of Independence. But another beautiful green space. So we're back into some rain here a little bit, but that's fine. I got my rain jacket on and it's nice for a change. So our next stop is a place that I found quite intriguing when I was looking up some places to check out here. So this next place is what's known as Museo Casa de la Zacatecana. And there's some interesting history with this place. So this is one of the largest single-family homes in the city, and one of the only homes that have been converted into a museum. Now, what's interesting about this place is that other people who have since lived here reportedly moved out because of ghosts and hauntings. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting to go and just kind of check it out, see what it's like, just for something a little bit different.
So the house is a house from the Viceroyal period, and it has this distinctive distribution that it's called two patios. Inside this first patio, we have the rooms that are now the rooms of the museum, and it has a very, very large second patio, which held the garden, where the animals were, where the horses were. Nowadays, we just have a little part of what originally was, but we have a resting area in case you need it, and the bathrooms are also located on the outside patio.
Okay.
Inside, we have 11 rooms to visit. There, but when you enter the room, they're gonna turn up.
That's the ghosts?
That's a ghost.
I've heard rumors that there are ghosts.
Yes.
Do you believe it?
No.
You haven't seen any?
No, I haven't seen any, or they're very kind to me. I don't know which one.
So she didn't want to be on camera, which is totally fine. I completely understand. And anyway, so I've got a guide in English of the whole place. So instead of these signs, which are here, like for example this one here, there's actually an English version of it here. So that's super handy. Wow. So this is a very Victorian-esque era style dining room with opulent paintings and window decorations. And yeah, wow, that's crazy. So this next room is the tea room. She said there was 11 rooms, I think, in total. And of course, at the time, tea was quite expensive as it had to be imported. There's the ghosts turning the lights on for me. So you can see a nice example here of the crazy tea room, which really shows off the, high society aspect of these types of events and these types of rooms. The remains of the courtyard, she had mentioned that, I think it was this, that, part of the courtyard had been much bigger at one time, and this is what remains of it now. So up in this window, I'm going to zoom in as much as I can. So if you stand right here, so the story goes, you can see the reflection in the window and what looks like a small face. Now, what's interesting is that it's actually a reflection of that on the wall, but it doesn't completely show the same. I'm going to grab my other camera and zoom in a little tighter to show you what I mean. So I've just switched over my phone here for a second, and so this is what gets shown in the reflection of the window over here. But what's interesting is that if you look closely, it's actually a face in the reflection that is not part of this. So this is, I think, where some of the legend comes from about the ghosts and the hauntings in the building. And on the second floor, she mentioned that there was more information up there about the hauntings and sort of the legends that come with that. So let's go upstairs and take a look at that. Example of a standard bedroom from the 19th century here as well. Oh, there's the ghost with the weird hat and the long beard in the mirror. So we were standing down there earlier looking at the reflection of that in this window, and this painting just happens to be on the inside of the window with a face that looks pretty familiar when I was standing down there. Well, let's go see what's up here. So from up here on the top of the house, you actually get an amazing view of the whole city. You can see this, how it stretches out that way, and then if you make over this way, you can see how big Querétaro has become over the years from what it was after the wars and the fighting as late as the late 1800s. I'm surprised at the number of people who don't come to Querétaro when they're traveling to Mexico, because this is a fantastic city with loads of history, and I mean, there's just so much to see here. There's history that goes back thousands of years, so there's something for everybody. I believe it's also recognized as one of the safest and happiest cities in Mexico as well. And I mean, it's kind of in its own little space here, surrounded by mountains. A few others from Mexico City, but definitely its own thing. I can definitely see why people are happy here and why the city is known for its history and its culture and its peace and safety. And I hope that more people come and check it out, because this place is great. So here's some information on the actual history of the home and the legend. So according to the historian, the house was inhabited by a wealthy couple from Zacatecas, a state in northern Mexico, hence the name Los Zacatecanos. The husband was absent most of the time as he had business in Mexico City. The wife stayed home with servants and was only allowed to leave the house to go to church. One day she was found murdered in La Tamboras, a little square near the house, and believing her to be a bad woman, people of Querétaro decided to hang her from the main balcony of her house. Many years later, 2 male bodies were found on the second patio in the backyard. It was assumed that one belonged to the husband and one other to the servant, both killed by the lady. Although there are parts of the story that did happen, most notably the house was inhabited by a couple from Zacatecas and that the woman was murdered, the legend remained a mystery. So the only facts that we have based on historical documents are that the couple lived in this house probably towards the end of the 1700s. She was murdered inside the house itself, thrown in the Plazuela de las Tamboras, and hung from the balcony. In 1906, 2 bodies were found in the backyard. So the rest of the story, the other facts that complement different versions. It was never known what happened to the husband or any of those who lived in the house or with them, nor the motive for the murder of his wife. In 1906, when the 2 bodies were found, more than 100 years had passed since the events, and the house was now more than 200 years old. The remains could have belonged to any of the people who lived here during that time, since it was very common to bury relatives in the house itself, since it was too expensive to have a place in the cemeteries. So the story sounds like it's one of those that typical, has grown and manifested its own legend over the years. It's a pretty creepy place, but also a very cool place with lots of history in it and some really cool things to see. It mentions here at the end that there's none of the objects in the house that remain are still from when that original family lived here back in the 1700s that we know of. So it's definitely a rainy day now, but that's okay. My rain jacket's holding up, and I don't mind the rain at all. It's been so long since I've been out on a rainy day that it doesn't bother me one bit. So we've made our way up here to the Plaza de la Fundadores, or the founders of Querétaro. And this big open plaza here with a small fountain. Right across the street is the old convent building. You can see there off in the distance. And at this end is statues of 4 of the founders of the city. So I won't go through them all, but you can see there's 4 of them here. And there's a plaque over there talking about the 450th anniversary of the town as well. 1531 to 1981. So I've read varying accounts on this building, one of which said it dates back to the 15th century. The other said it dates back to the 16th century. So regardless, it's 400 to 500 years old. And it was originally designed as a convent and a place to teach Jesuit missionaries. So this was the church side, and this was the convent side over here. Built between 1649 and 1654 by the Franciscan Order. In 1683, the first college of the propagation of the faith in America was established here, which was the friars would then use to spread out to evangelize the lands in the north of New Spain. So despite the rain, I still have 2 stops left, and I saved the best for last today, I think, based on what I've read and what I've seen for pictures online. So I was just walking along the side of this wall here, heading up to my final couple stops, and noticed that there was a hole in the wall. So the placard reads, "The Republican troops entered through this place in the dawn of May 15th, 1867, thus ending the siege of the city." So as we saw earlier in the museum, there was a lot of history here with post-war with the Americas, post-war with the Spaniards. But then, of course, after all that, there was the internal battles and strife. You know, those who supported the emperor that was imposed on New Spain, and those who were, you know, loyal to Mexico. So that was the spot where the final battle for Querétaro happened and ended the siege in the city, and finally brought some amount of peace to the city after hundreds of years of fighting. So we've arrived at our final destination in our tour of Querétaro's downtown historic district, and this one's a big one. So directly in front of me is the infamous Querétaro Aqueduct, which stretches well over a kilometer right across the city. So this aqueduct was built between 1726 and 1738 and was used to supply fresh water to the city. So over on that side, it would take the runoff from the hills, where I believe there was a natural spring as well. So it has 74 arches in total, and when it was completed, it was one of the greatest engineering projects in all of Mexico. You can imagine the effort that went into crafting that back in the 1700s. most of the major roads and highways and things still pass underneath it even today. And right next to the aqueduct, although unfortunately closed today, probably because of the weather, is what's known as the Pantheon of Illustrious Persons of Querétaro. So this is the final resting place of Dona Josefa Ortiz de Dominguez. She was the mother of the revolution in Mexico, the wife of the mayor of the area, and after she died in Mexico City, she was brought back here for burial, and this is her final resting place. So we'll walk up here and get one more shot of the city. And here is the entire layout of the city of Querétaro, here in the mountains on this very rainy, gray, and cool day. But for someone who hasn't had a rainy and cool day in 6 weeks, I'll take it just fine, no problem. So tomorrow, because I'm going to go back now and get dried off because I am pretty soaked at this point. Tomorrow we have a very special stop as well, just outside the city, which will, I'm hoping, blow me away. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. More to come from Querétaro, here in Mexico.